And in the engineering world, failure is a good thing. Yeah, if you're trying to engineer a new solution, or if you're coming up with a new product, or to be honest, if you're doing anything, then failure is all part of the process. You actually want to fail fast so you can develop what you're developing quicker. That is a great question, because I think for me, last year, I accepted a role as managing director for a business. I went from essentially 6.5 years of me, myself and I to a team, and lots of challenges that kind of came within that. So I think for me, it's all about my network. I have an incredible network of people around me, and friends that I can ring up and say, am I being unreasonable here, or am I going mad here? Like, you know, what's going on? Because sometimes it's that like self-doubt that we all kind of want to get rid of, and we wish we didn't experience imposter syndrome. We wish we didn't experience self-doubt. But the fact of the matter is that I think we're always going to experience it. It's all about how we manage those things. And I think for me, it's that like people and environment are really important. So, you know, actually, like I have a list of friends that I can call on for different things. So if I'm having challenges with an employee, and, you know, I had a lot of those last year, especially around mental health, is that, you know, I've got somebody that I can talk problems through, because I think a problem discussed is a problem solved in a much quicker way. And also, again, it's like bringing in those perspectives that you might not have considered in that situation. So yeah, that's a big one for me, the people, the environment as well. So I have to force myself into like a kind of, I say it's like a quarterly retreat. So every quarter I sort of say, right, I'm going to take either a long weekend or an extra long weekend, and then just go walking in the hills, sort of stay at a hotel, just get out of the normal sort of situation of what I'm doing, because that, again, for me, the mountains and the hills are the best way that I can get an external perspective. So if I ever feel like I'm getting a bit sort of short-tempered with people, or if I feel like I'm, you know, getting a bit too stressed, or I'm focusing too much on the detail, then, you know, force myself to get out, take a day off, or ring somebody. There's two behaviours, one of which is self-awareness, and the other one is empathy. Empathy towards other people, but also empathy towards yourself as well. And I think they're underestimated, because in business, it's so fast-paced. You know, we've got massive to-do lists. There's always so many fires that need putting out. There's always challenges and things like that. And I think for me, it's the importance of taking a step back and giving people the time to talk about what's really important to them. So empathy in terms of actually really taking the time to sit and understand somebody else's perspective and how they might be feeling in that situation. Empathy towards ourselves, because as leaders, especially in high pressure environments and situations, sometimes we can't rely on other people pointing out if we need a break, or other people sort of telling us whether we're doing a good job or we're not doing a good job. You know, we need that empathy towards ourselves to go, you know what, actually I do deserve a day off, or, you know, maybe I can celebrate the fact that I am making progress here. And then self-awareness, which does link into that, because self-awareness for me is one of those skills that if you can teach yourself how to be more self-aware, it then helps you be aware of what other people need, about how other people are communicating, about, you know, what might be going on with somebody that they're not yet ready to communicate with you, and sort of seeing what's going on in the background. So yeah, for me, a lot of it is like actually holding the mirror up, looking, being self-aware on yourself so that you can be aware about other people, and then just taking that time to actually empathize. It's really difficult because you can't always empathize with somebody else's situation, especially if you've not been in their shoes. But also it's that, like, you know what, if somebody's really struggling, they're not going to be performing at their best. But, you know, if you could do something to help them, then they will be performing at their best. It's just, you know, a period of time that they might be struggling. So yeah, for me, empathy and self-awareness. It's a really good question, because it's the subject of a lot of my keynote talks. And even if it's not the subject of a keynote talk, I do tend to weave it in because it's really important. I think the first one is to acknowledge and accept that as leaders, as human beings, you know, we're all going to feel we're all going to fear failure. We're all going to fear judgment, because at the end of the day, that's what makes us human. You know, like years and years ago, like failure could mean sudden death, and judgment could mean that we get excluded from the tribe that we're part of. And belonging is really, really important as well. So instead of using energy thinking, oh, I need to stop feeling like this, use your energy to think, right, okay, well, actually, this is just normal. This is all part of it. And I think it's slightly easier because I have an engineering background. And in the engineering world, failure is a good thing. Yeah, if you're trying to engineer a new solution, or if you're coming up with a new product, or if you, to be honest, if you're doing anything, then failure is all part of the process. You actually want to fail fast so you can develop what you're developing quicker, because then you know what works and what doesn't work. I think it's the perfectionism that's the real challenge, because perfectionism is the thing that tends to stop people putting things out into the world. Whereas actually, if you just think, right, how can I get it to a point where, and this is an important distinction, because I work in aviation, and you know, you can't fly a plane that's like, oh, I'm 80% sure that this plane's not going to crash. Right? That's not what it's about. It's about, like, you know, choosing the environment that you're in and going, you know, if it's a piece of content because you want to build up your personal brand, you know, the consequences of it not working, it's not life and death. Nobody's going to die, and also not everybody's going to see it. But if you don't put it out there, you've got nothing to learn from. So for me, the advice is, like, reframe failure as a good thing, reframe failure as part of the process, as a way of learning, because failure, in my mind anyway, it's only failure if you don't learn anything from it. The other part is around sort of judgments and people perceiving you in a different way. And I think this is something that I've really, really struggled with. And actually learning how to speak in public has helped me massively with this, because at the end of the day, you know, not everybody is going to like you. And it's back onto that self-awareness piece. It's like, you don't like everybody else, so how can you expect everybody to like you? So it's focusing on the people that you actually respect and care about, but also don't let that stop you, because at the end of the day, everybody judges. It's all part and parcel of, again, being human. We can't help it. More often than not, it's totally, you know, subconscious. So again, accept that it is part of the process, but don't let that stop you, but just learn from every situation, learn from every experience, because then it's just going to keep getting better and better. The key thing I want people to take away from one of my talks is that instead of spending energy thinking and feeling that they need to be more confident, or they need to get rid of imposter syndrome, or they need to get rid of you know, issues around self-belief and things, put that energy into making courageous steps. You know, I always talk about courage in motion, because confidence comes from action, but the action comes from courage. So it's all about, like, taking that first step, or also keep going and keep learning. And then the other thing as well, I know it was one thing to take away, but when you do implement courage in motion, you are courageous. Sometimes if you're not doing it for yourself, just think that actually it will inspire other people to do things as well. So sometimes we don't do the thing because we're like, oh, well, either, you know, we're not that important, or our goals aren't that important. So a little reframe can sometimes be useful to say, right, well, actually, if I do it, then other people are going to see me do it, and that's really inspiring. And then they're going to do it, and then it's going to have an amazing ripple effect.